Welcome inside the Mohawk Mountaineers podcast. I'm your host, Nick Birnie. As always, welcome to another edition of The Summit as we look inside the Mohawk Mountaineers men and women's basketball season for 2016-17. This week, we will be previewing game number 11 for the Mohawk Mountaineers men and women's team, while also reviewing the first game back in action in the 2017 portion of the schedule for the Mohawk Mountaineers men and women's sides, which was taking place this past Thursday, on Thursday, January the 12th at Niagara College on Welland campus, as the Niagara Knights hosted the Mohawk Mountaineers men and women's basketball teams in game number 10 of the 2016-17 OCAA season. We'll start with the women. Mountaineers were looking to start 2017 off on the right foot Thursday as they made their way into the Niagara College Athletic Center with the focus on getting the jump on their opponents. The Knights coming in tied with the Mountaineers as both sat 6-3 at a tie for third place in a very tightly contested Western Division. The Mountaineers, though, got off to a very slow start in the first quarter, but as did the Knights. Both teams with a very slow, choppy pace and feel to the game, as it began with 16 trips to the free throw line in the first quarter alone for the Mohawk Mountaineers, and they made 12 of those 16 count for 12 of their 21 points as they found themselves leading 21-18 at the end of the first quarter, but it was very much in part thanks to 8 turnovers from the Niagara Knights offensively. As the game went on, we saw some better play from some specific players such as Sam Pockernick, who came through with not only a huge first half, but a tremendous game as being team leader in scoring and having a career night herself with 38 points by the end of the game. However, in the second quarter, just to focus in, it did not get a whole lot better for the Mountaineers right away, and if it wasn't for Sam Pockernick with a huge pull-up three-pointer with just seconds remaining in the half, the Mountaineers would have gone to the break dead even with the Knights. Instead, they were able to take a 43-40 advantage into the break behind 20 points in the first half alone from Sam Pockernick, and she was shooting 7 of 8 from the field at that time. However, as the third quarter got underway, the Mountaineers were not as consistent as they had been through the first half, and the Knights came out in the third and got the jump on them, outscoring them 29-23 in the quarter to take a lead 69-66 by the end of 3. In that fourth quarter, the two teams traded opportunities back and forth, and as we neared the halfway point, the Knights pulled even at 81 on a pair of free throws from Courtney McPherson, who led them with 18 points and 13 rebounds on the night for her 6th double-double of the season. However, with about 6 minutes remaining, the Mountaineers began to shut things down defensively, allowing just 7 points over those final remaining 6 minutes on their way to winning their first game of 2017 and splitting the season series with the Knights, thanks to a big-time victory by a final score of 95-88. The Mountaineers ended the game, as mentioned, on that 14-7 run, closed out thanks to some clutch free throw shooting by the likes of Steph Rymack, Monica Batnick, and Jasmina Kusic, in a game that also saw 14 lead changes between the two sides. As mentioned, Sam Pockernick would go on to finish with a game-high 38 points and added 8 rebounds in what was her finest effort of the season to date, and also her highest scoring game of her brief 2-year OCAA career. This also came a night after Humber Hawks guard CJ Nofuente set the OCAA women's record for points in a single game, scoring 55. For the Mountaineers, teammates like Steph Rymack know exactly when to look the way of a red-hot Pockernick, saying, quote, "I thought she had a great game tonight. It was awesome to see. She was hitting big shots when we needed it, and she definitely stepped up. It's nice to see when a player on your team has a game like that." When talking to Pockernick following the win, Pockernick also had this to say in regards to the slow start for the Mountaineers, saying, quote, "The time had no effect on us. We just lacked mental focus, and we're not playing defense to really our full potential." When asked about her personal game and how much success she had on the night, Pockernick responded with, quote, "What worked so well for me was my shot for once. Last semester my shot was very off, and plus, it really does help when you have teammates who are great at feeding you the ball." For the Mountaineers, their next opponent is the 2-7 Lambton Lions, who will be coming in to visit the David Braley Athletic and Recreation Center on Friday, January 20th, and are also currently on a long 7-game losing streak since Lambton has not won since taking their opening 2 games against Cambrian College back in late October. On the men's side, the Mountaineers were also visiting Niagara College on Thursday night against a very good 6-1 Niagara College Knights men's squad. The Mountaineers, coming in at 4-5, were looking to get themselves back to 500 against the Knights on Thursday, but did not start with the kind of quality basketball that they were hoping for. And again, it began with some sloppy defense, falling behind early in this one, 30-19 by the end of a quarter of play. The Mountaineers did start to bring themselves back to life in the second quarter, outscoring the Knights 30-24, taking into halftime only a 5-point deficit from the first half, down 54-49. And the basketball that the Mountaineers were playing seemed to be improving. However, again, another letdown quarter really did cost the men, as in the third, the Knights came out and were all over them on their way to a 31-point quarter to give them an 85-69 lead of 16 points at the end of 3, as they outscored the Mountaineers by 11 in the quarter. And the offense for the Mountaineers, which had been so good in the first 9 games, not quite showing itself thus far through the first 3 quarters of this one. However, in the fourth quarter, 40 points from the Mountaineers did make it more interesting, but they surrendered 43 against in the fourth quarter, still being outscored on their way to a final score of 128-109. Not the best performance from the men's side. Lamar Barr able to score 31 points, leading the way, also grabbed 9 rebounds for his team, leading them in both categories. Matt Elcock also had 23 points as he returned to his scoring ways for the Mountaineers. Kareem Collins had 18 points and a share of the rebound lead, with Barr at 9, also adding 6 assists to his total. And youngster Jordan Martin also produced a 17-point night off the bench, which is at least something that the Mountaineers can take and move forward with as a positive. With the defeat, Mohawk's record now falls to 4-6, while Niagara improves to 7-1, reeling off 7 straight wins since losing their season opener against the Sheridan Bruins. Again, for the Mountaineers, some good stat lines were not exactly the only thing to mention as positives. We did see more time on the court from Lamar Barr, Kareem Collins, and Matt Elcock being relied on more heavily as the game went forward. But it was the mistakes of early missed opportunities and shots that truly did cost the Mountaineers. Lamar Barr was only 6 of 18 from the field, Kareem Collins 5 of 13, and Matt Elcock 6 of 14. Jalen Bailey only 3 of 13 from beyond the arc, Matt Elcock only 2 of 8, and Lamar Barr only 2 of 7. Missed shots were really the issues for the Mohawk Mountaineers come the end of this game. So, a 128-109 loss sets the Mountaineers up for their next opponent, which will be Lambton College this Friday, January 20th, with a visit to the David Braley Athletic and Recreation Center here on Mohawk College campus, where the 2-7 Lambton Lions, who have actually won 2 in a row after losing their first 7 games of the regular season, will look for a 3rd straight win against a Mohawk Mountaineers team that has currently lost 4 straight games after winning 4 in a row to propel themselves to 4-2 after an 0-2 start. So a very up and down year for the Mohawk Mountaineers men's squad continues, and unfortunately, as we go forward into their next matchup at home, they will need to shore up their defensive inefficiencies, and it's really going to come down to getting off to much better starts. The way they started against the Niagara College Knights was not the way that these Mountaineers want to play, and it most likely is not the way they'll be able to win games by falling behind by multiple points, and especially when you fall behind good teams like the Knights. As hot as they are, you give yourself almost no opportunity to climb back against such a stout defensive opponent. So, thanks for joining us on this podcast, the 5th episode of The Summit. Thank you for reviewing Mohawk Mountaineers basketball with me, Nick Birnie. I will be play-by-play commentating for the games on Friday, January 20th. You can catch the link on YouTube under M-Link channel, as we will be putting the games on live. Starting at 6 p.m. is the girls and 8 p.m. for the men. And if you want to catch more of the Summit podcast or any of the Mohawk Mountaineers updates on their game summaries, then you can catch us on Ignite News. And you can also catch me on YouTube under Nick Birnie, on Facebook also under Nick Birnie, and of course on Twitter, you guessed it, Nick_Birnie. Thank you for joining us. The 5th episode of The Summit is complete. You can go now and enjoy your week. And when we catch you next time, we'll be reviewing the next match against the Lambton Lions, and we'll be looking forward and previewing the following matchups for the Mohawk Mountaineers as they go forward in this 2016-17 OCAA season. Thanks for watching, everybody, and take care.